Hey, what's up? You know, I'm here to talk about Destination X last night. I didn't see the pay-per-view, and I'm currently in the process of trying to download it so I can watch it. Now, I've heard some various different views. I mean, I heard True Slayer speak his mind about how he didn't like the pay-per-view. I heard Spinnernet say he likes it, and I'm pretty sure there's some others that feel, both the same way. To be quite honest, even though I didn't get to see the pay-per-view, I could probably understand where a lot of you guys are coming from. I mean, I could probably understand where a lot of you are coming from. I mean, you probably feel as though this pay-per-view shouldn't have happened the way it did. You guys are probably feeling as though it should have been centered around the X division. I can understand that. And some of you also feel as though the storylines and the outcomes of certain matches shouldn't have been the way they were. And you kind of question yourself, and not question yourself, but you kind of question TNA as to why in the world are they doing certain things. I mean, I'll give you an example. A lot of you said they opened up the pay-per-view with a great ladder match. Am I right? Yeah. With a great ladder match. But then all of a sudden it just started to go downhill. It just started to really, go down into the ground. Just kind of take a nosedive into a crash landing. And that the only time it ever saved itself, if you will, was with the Ultimate X match. So like it's going down, so like it's a plane going into a downward spiral, but it kind of lifts itself back up, just barely, if you will, with the Ultimate X match. That's the way you guys are looking at it. But then you say after it did that, it starts to sputter again and just go straight downhill completely. Now others say it kind of was like shaky, like today's a windy day here where I live. And everybody knows that when you're flying a plane and it's kind of windy, it kind of shakes back and forth a little bit. It kind of gives you strong turbulence. Well, some of you said that that's how this pay-per-view was. You kind of enjoyed it even though it was shaky. And I can understand why. I mean, I could probably understand why a lot of you liked this pay-per-view even though it was a shaky pay-per-view. It really wasn't the best. And why some of you just felt as though it was a plane crash just waiting to happen. Just, waiting to occur. I can understand why. Like I said, like I mentioned, they opened up with a good pay-per-view. If you look at it, like I said, from a plane going down into a crash, going down in flames kind of deal, it's like it started good, started flying with the X Division match, did okay with the Knockouts match, and then all of a sudden it started to spiral down. Because they went with the squash match, then it spiraled down, and then all of a sudden they got back up. Basically, it's like they were hitting some strong turbulence, then they kind of got clear of it with the Ultimate X match, and then here's that strong turbulence causing them to go down again. And I know that's how a lot of you feel about this pay-per-view. Now some of you, like I said, look at it as flying on a plane with strong turbulence, making the plane go like this, kind of shaking it up a little bit. And who hasn't been on a plane like that? I have. But kind of making it a little shaky a bit, but still making it through. And I know I know some of you said that when they didn't like the pay-per-view, that said it started to really go downhill into a crash. It was right after the Ultimate X match. I mean, the Ultimate X match kind of cleared it a little bit, saved it a little bit, and then all of a sudden it just started to sputter, hit that strong turbulence again, and as soon as the match for the chance for Scott Hall and Six-Pac to stay in TNA occurred, it just started to go straight nosedive into the ground. And I can understand that, because a lot of fans don't want to see a repeat of 13 years ago. Well, actually make that 14 years ago. Nobody wants to see that. And I can understand it, but let me explain why I think TNA is doing this. TNA is doing this because if you look at it in a way, it's not exactly like 13 years ago. 13 years ago, you had everybody in TNA, including some of the newcomers. Not TNA, but 13 years ago, you had a lot of the people in WCW, including some of the newcomers, standing up to the NWO, standing up to the Wolfpack. Now, 13 years later, you have the Wolfpack back again, but it's not like 13 years ago. It's kind of like, believe it or not, it's like 8 years ago. When WWE brought in the NWO, the NWO was supposed to be like a repeat of what happened in WCW. But instead, you had some WWE heels, or WWF WWE heels, teaming up with the NWO. So basically, all the Wolfpack is another faction. It's not an organization. It's not NWO. It's just another group. That's all it is. I mean, do we see World Elite anymore? No, we don't see World Elite. They've been phased out. And in the place, we've got the Wolfpack and a possible Four Horsemen stable coming. Get what I'm saying? So, to ease your mind, it may look like it, but all I see here is just Scott Hall, Six-Pac, and Kevin Nash bullying people, doing what they want kind of deal, but not doing it in the way that makes people think, oh, it's NWO all over again and TNA is going to die. No. It's just basically another faction. It's more of the, hey, we can do what we want. We can go party all night. Oh, we don't have to wrestle kind of deal, blah, blah, blah. That's the kind of group it is. Alright? It's not like, they're trying to take over. And like I said, it's the same with, and like I said, if it was like 13 years ago, then you'd have Ric Flair, you'd have AJ, and you'd have Desmond Wolfe. You'd have these guys on the side of TNA, on the side of Abyss, probably even on the side of Jarrett, Mick Foley, and maybe even Hulk Hogan. That's who you'd have them on the side of. Not on the side, but that's not the case because the Wolfpack deal is not like 13 years ago. Just thought I'd set the record straight. Now again, I can understand why some of you felt as though it was going into a downward spiral and into a crash even after that, because even though you had an okay X Division match, you had a promo which should have stayed on TNA Impact by Doug Williams. Then you had I believe, Ken Anderson and Kurt Angle in a match, which Kurt won, and then you had another promo in which Anderson blamed Angle for cheating. And then, of course, you had the main event, which had an ending to where Abyss chokeslams AJ literally into the ring, right through the ring. And then you have him and Hogan beating down Desmond Wolfe and Ric Flair, and you have them falling down the hole. Yeah, so I can understand what's going on there. Alright? Believe me, TNA, they're trying certain things out. They're making you think this, and you're falling for it. But I thought I'd just throw that in first. Just throw in my 2 cents there about what's, everybody talk about TNA Destination X, and, even though I haven't seen it, I'm going to try to see it. And you got any comments, let me know, and I'll talk to y'all later.